let's say that we have some kind of like an ID system on blockchain, and I uploaded a lot of data about myself to the system, like including all the passport data and the picture of passport and like everything. And right now I want to log into some platform that is for adults. So, well, I don't know. Let's say that I want to do it. It's kind of a platform where I don't really want this platform to know my passport data because, well, first of all, I basically don't want anyone to know my passport data. And second of all, I don't know, I'm afraid to upload such things to the internet. So what I could do, in theory, is that I could generate zero-knowledge proof that, well, okay, so this is my ID, and it exists on the blockchain, and there is like a hash of all my data on blockchain. And I just generate the proof that I'm over 18 years old. And nothing more. I mean, I do not reveal any other, even like a tiny piece of nothing else. I just prove that I'm over 18 years old. Or I can prove to some other platform that, all right, I'm not gonna reveal like my name or anything like that. I will just reveal that I'm not a citizen of some specific country, which is, for example, not allowed to enter some kind of a program.
Welcome to the Crypto Compliance Podcast by Gagol.
Hi, Adam. Welcome in Crypto Compliance by Gatenox. I'm very pleased to have you here. Adam, you are in charge, one of the founder of Aleph Zero, which is one of the very exciting projects, layer one in crypto. I'm pleased to have you here. Obviously, your background is mathematics and cryptography, and we're going to talk about this as well. But we're also going to talk a lot about privacy aspect and compliance and how you see this. But first, welcome in Crypto Compliance, and can you say a few words about how did you actually end up in mathematics, and what's your background?
Okay, so as we informally talked before the meeting. Mathematics was kind of like I don't know. I always wanted to be a philosopher, like when I was back in the high school. But I had this idea in my mind that, probably that's not an easy way to make a living as a philosopher. So that was, I didn't want to be just a computer scientist, so I think I chose mathematics to be something in between, closer to philosophy than actual applications. I think that was a good choice. I really enjoyed theoretical math. I did PhD in math, also purely theoretical back then. But before I finished, my PhD was in probabilistic method, which is applications of probability into combinatorics. Don't be mistaken by word applications. It's not like really applied in real world. It's just applying one abstract mathematical domain to another. I think I got interested in crypto in something like 2013, maybe. That was mainly Bitcoin back then. It was a very different interest. I was basically mining Bitcoin on the GPU initially, so very, very different world.
What year it was? When did you start mining?
2013. This was basically just when the ASICs hit the markets, so I needed to transition to Ethereum pretty quickly. That was like a hobby for a couple of years at least. Like professionally, I got into crypto in 2018. This is when I was already wrapping up the PhD part, and I think I was a bit disappointed with academia, and also don't remember what was a particular reason for that, but I changed the mindset a bit. I think I was a bit disappointed with lack of applications. So, like as I said before, I wanted to be a philosopher, fully theoretical domain. But I think after seeing how things work in academia, I kind of got tired of it, of solving problems where like I don't know, maybe there is a couple of people in the world that will actually read my paper. But that's not what I like. Solving riddles for the rest of my life didn't sound like a super promising career. In 2019, I met Matthew Niemer, our co-founder, and then I gathered two other friends of mine, which I already knew, Michał and Antoni, and we started Aleph Zero. And that's when I professionally got engaged into crypto. So as a mathematician, I pretty quickly got into cryptography. I was as I said, I was hobbystically into it before, so the transition was not all that hard.
Why did you end up in crypto space in general? Cryptocurrencies. Why did you? I mean, did you find interesting Bitcoin? Mining, or did you just do this for money, or what was the initial idea?
So the initial reason was actually philosophical, in the sense that yes, I was really after decentralization. Back then, it was mainly about Bitcoin. Right now, I'm not such a big fan of Bitcoin as a project, but I think it encompasses something which is very important, which is this it creates some primitive in our world that did not exist before. You can make things which are, there's this magical word trustless. So the fact that you do not need a control of a third party over a system is something pretty new, I think, in the world, and it did not exist before blockchain. And I find it very compelling. Ideologically, I'm not a big fan of governmental control over things. I'm not. I think, I don't trust people all that much, I guess. And there are numerous cases where in which such control was abused. So pretty naturally, I think I got interested in ways to mitigate such a control and to create systems that are fair but does not give control over lives of users.
Do you think Bitcoin and crypto is bringing in? After many years, so 5 years in crypto, and 10 years in broader crypto space, do you think it's actually brought the promise? It's actually fulfilling the promise, or where we are at the moment with what's happening on the market, with all the scams, everything what's happening, where philosophically you are with this?
I don't think that there are so many scams anymore, actually. Back in the days I've been starting, these were the days of scams. A majority of projects, even the well-funded ones, basically, well-funded projects.
Well, you have Luna, you have, FTX, you have, we tend to forget about this, right? Very quickly.
Sure. Okay, so it's a different kind of scam, I think. So back in the days in 2018, what I called a scam was a project raising 10 millions and disappearing. That's a scam.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luna, a project which had some economy which was perhaps not the. I do not think that Luna was a scam. It was a project that took a very risky path and failed. So it's a very, very different story. Very different. So the modern, as you say, scams are pretty often projects that are doing things too aggressively. But they try to do these things at least. The scams of 2018, no. Was literally no code, just raise and quit. So I think we are progressing somewhere here, right? Now the question is, so what's the end goal here? Where are we progressing? So I guess we are progressing to the point where scams in crypto will basically be similar to scams outside of crypto. So in the normal startup sector, there are of course cases such as FTX as well. I mean, like there are at least in especially in the hype domains like machine learning, it's not hard to make a fundraise in ML and don't deliver. So yeah, I think we progressed a lot when it comes to scam. It sounds funny. We progressed a lot when it comes to credibility of the products. When it comes to, let's say, adoption and delivering the premise of this decentralized finance, well, okay, so we're not there yet, obviously. I mean, we don't pay crypto in regular shops. And I think I at least realized how long this road is. Like back 5 years ago, probably if you would ask me, I would say that, yeah, in 5 years we may reach the end goal. So right now, after 5 years, I wouldn't say that in the next 5 years we will reach it. The road is much, much longer than I thought. Like there are multiple obstacles like both technical, legal, and like user experience, and also, of course, like general convincing the general population. So yeah, but even if we would be able to convince everyone, we're technically not in the point where we could make crypto the worldwide payment system. So yeah.
Why not? Why do you think? I mean, it cannot be the fabric of the future, economy and transactions, all this stuff.
So one of the things, I mean, pretty often people are talking about throughput and transactions per second as a limiting factor. I don't think this is a limiting factor anymore. Like if we would be concerned only about regular like transactions, not triggering smart contracts, I mean this is okay. It's not the biggest bottleneck. The bigger problem for me is the trade-offs that we need to do to achieve decentralization. And the biggest trade-off, like in my opinion, is privacy. So like in all the protocols, or almost all the protocols where we actually make a decentralized transfer, in the sense that we don't have like a custodian, we actually are using non-custodial wallet and do the transfer from this one, then it lacks privacy. It's super annoying for me, and I bet it's the same for majority of users, that if I send crypto to someone, this person basically can backtrack the transfer and see my entire transfer history. This is absurd. I mean, really, this is absurd to the point that it is unusable. Like, absolutely unusable. This is, I mean, I really, like...
Yeah, and I feel, listen, that was my dilemma when I was building CoinFi, which is blockchain analytics, right? And just to give you one simple example of e-commerce, we had this example of e-commerce platform. So if we have two competing e-commerce platforms, one is using crypto, one is not using crypto. So the one which is using crypto, if you are able to trace all the transactions, where they are coming from, at what time there is trading, how much they spend, that's huge intel on this competing platform. So I think I completely agree, and I know that you guys doing a lot of interesting stuff about privacy, but I think from my perspective, it was very interesting from the tracing perspective, because if you think about ideal compliant world, everything should be traceable and all this stuff, but at the same time there's always concern how you are protecting, and then actually going to be hindering, and I think this is exactly what you said, is going to be hindering the ecosystem growth, because there are some people who would say like, no, I'm not going there because it's fully visible, right? It's not even like compliance, but it's kind of open to the public, right? If you have tools which you can buy for 1,000 a month, you can trace my transactions, right? How come, right? So, and yeah, I completely agree with privacy. And
also, I think there are two or like even more sides of this coin. So one is like exploitation, as you said. So very like corporate exploitation. Someone can just harvest your data and I don't know, target ads at you better, or like do proper, I don't know, use it for credit scoring or many other things that you wouldn't like your data to be used for. The other thing is like the social aspect of it, which is also annoying. I mean, like if like it often happens that I do something, I don't know, I pay for food or whatever, or someone pays for food, and he's like, "Oh, Adam, you use crypto. Why don't you send me back crypto?" And I said, "Yeah, all right, but I don't really want this person to peek into my wallet. So what I do, and I guess what most people do, I use centralized exchange as like a kind of a mixing service. So I create a new address, and then I send from this new burn address. So like you end up having, I don't know, dozens of these burn addresses just for the sake of paying for food, because like, I don't know."
But Adam, but we have, and I always say, look at Zcash, look at Monero, right? They have some, really interesting, privacy solutions embedded. Monero is like, that's the only coin which we couldn't trace, right? And we spend a lot of thinking and money on, traceability. Why the market is not picking up them? That's
So
something.
I don't know how much have you actually used Zcash and Monero.
Zero.
Okay. So let me tell you why people are not using. Because it's hard. I mean, it's really much more cumbersome to use privacy protocols. So just to give you an example, I don't know if you use WhatsApp.
Yeah, I do.
So WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, which is great. I love it. But it comes at a cost. They put really a lot of effort into user experience. But I don't know, have you changed a phone to the new one while using WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Basically, the fact that it's end-to-end encrypted means that whenever you log in with your new device, well, I mean, like your conversations are kind of gone because they're encrypted with a key, which is on your old device. So you need to do some additional stuff to get it back. Yeah. And like being private means that something is going to be problematic. So WhatsApp, like they invest a lot into user experience. So yes, it's usable, it's convenient. This app is okay. But when it comes to the private transfers, like mathematically speaking, this problem is significantly more complex than WhatsApp. And I don't think anyone have spent like nothing comparable to what WhatsApp is spending on user experience of this protocol. So like what you end up with is basically that in Zcash, in order to make a transaction, you need to basically synchronize with the blockchain, which means basically you need to download a lot of blockchain data just to be able to generate new transaction, or even just to know what's your account status. So this is hard. This is much harder than just simple transaction on Ethereum, where I mean you can like just log in from the new device, put your seed, and like send the transaction. In Zcash, well, I don't know the numbers from the top of my head, but I would expect that you need to download something like maybe a gigabyte of data before you send the transaction. And well, that's not like a convenient way to pay for food, or I don't know. Like it's kind of like all or nothing. Either you are like this hardcore privacy user, or you're just not gonna use it because it's the barrier of entry is too high.
And is there any, so what's the, I mean, we have, ZK snarks, all these different NPCs, all these different technologies, which, where is, so, I mean, can you briefly go through what you find interesting in terms of privacy, cryptography, keys management, all this stuff? So what currently is like kind of the best technology, and, what's your view on this?
So very recently, like an informal movement, which I quite like, and it's to call all this basket of different technologies just zero knowledge. So like you have like MPC or like trusted execution environment or like what have you, like homomorphic encryption and like a lot of buzzwords. But like this is basically snarks. All of them are cryptographic technology to basically give you some privacy features. So like if you if you want adoption, if you want users to use these things and to get interested in these things, we cannot have like 5 buzzwords to name very similar items, because like everyone could get lost. So like recently, I more and more often see people just using like a general zero knowledge basket to name all these things, and I think it's a very good idea.
Yeah.
So formally, snarks, ZK snarks are like, yes, these are formally zero knowledge things. And also, I think this is the by far the most used and most developed also domain in privacy world.
Can you explain this in like a couple of words?
Mm-hmm. So yes, I can give like a story of what it is actually, like mathematically speaking, but it's not gonna be obvious how it is used actually in the blockchain. I can try to try to.
And I tell you, Adam, I spoke with Matt, with you, with a couple of other people, and the explanation is always tricky. This is something and it seems like and I think, this is also the sign of how early we are in this discussion, that people who are like living and breathing this cannot explain. So I think this is something which I remember, was happening in crypto, right? Like, what does it mean Bitcoin, right? How does it work? Like
Yeah, maybe like, yes, I think what we need is like a couple of convenient ways to explain things, or like a few more good educators. That's what we need. So what is a zero knowledge proof, or like zero knowledge proof of knowledge? That's I think more proper term, and that actually is, I could say that it's self-explanatory, but let me explain it further. It's first of all, it's a protocol. That's something like 2 of us can engage in, so we can achieve some goal. And what's the goal here? So usually there are 2 parties, prover and verifier. So let's say I'm a prover in this example, and you're a verifier. So what I want to prove to you is, well, it's a proof of knowledge. So I want to prove that I know something. Let it be a password. So what I want to prove to you is that I know a password which, well, satisfies some conditions, but I do not want to reveal this password to you. So this is the zero knowledge part. Zero knowledge proof of knowledge means that I want to prove something without prove knowledge of something without revealing this thing to you. And without revealing, this is a bit tricky, but I basically do not want to reveal anything about the thing I know, like not even one letter, not even like nothing, really, really nothing. Just I want to convince you that I know this password without letting you know anything about it. So this is tricky. And the password is like a toy example. Later on, we can discuss a bit what actually can you, like, what actual non-trivial statements you can actually prove. But what's usually interesting for people also is that this protocol, we don't want to communicate too much. Like, I would prefer to just write this proof, let's say, on a piece of paper. Why not? Or like send one message to you, which is this proof, and you will just read this message and say, well, yeah, it seems that he knows the password. And still, there is no password on this paper. There is just some abstract proof. So how to go about it? What's the simple example here? I always find these examples which are in the internet pretty misleading, because they are like toy examples, and they doesn't seem to be particularly useful. So when, like, I think I would say that, like, how to do it, this is crypto magic. Let's not go too deep into how to do it. What I think more interesting is why to do it. Like, what does it give us? So it's pretty general protocol. So basically, I can, using it, I can prove anything. For example, if we have a program, I can prove that I know such an input to this program that, well, it outputs yes. I'm not going to tell you what this input is. I just know this input. Or in more general, even I know such a data that something. So how people use it, I think there are basically two branches right now, at least in blockchain. There are two kind of separate branches of applications. The first one is that it is used for scalability, and the second one is that it is used for privacy. So first, scalability, I think it's maybe a bit simpler to explain. So basically, there is this concept of zero-knowledge rollup. So maybe first, what is a rollup? So the idea is that, it originated from Ethereum. The idea is that Ethereum is not able to process too many transactions per second. Like the throughput is very, very limited. But what you could do is you can think that, okay, so now we can write a smart contract on Ethereum. Like we had this story about prover and verifier. So we can write a smart contract on Ethereum, which will be verifier for some specific proof. And now what this proof will be proving is that statements like, okay, so there is a batch of 1,000 transactions which are legit. And like this verifier will not actually go through all these transactions. It will just digest this these proofs are small and verification is always super fast. So this is why it is used for scalability. In this example, we don't actually even care about the privacy aspect, about the zero knowledge aspect. What we care about is that this proof that, well, there are this 1,000 legit transactions, this proof is very small comparing to the size of the transactions. And it is very quick to verify comparing to going through all the 1,000 transactions.
Is this something that would be the side chains? They would be working on these parameters, or
no? Formally, this is called a rollup. So this is something that projects like Arbitrum, but generally, and the ZK rollup is working on this thing. Right now, rollups, of course, are more general than that. They don't only deal with transactions; they deal with all smart contract execution. So basically, you can say, okay, so I have this batch of 1,000 smart contract calls, and they are okay.
Yeah.
And this is the proof that they are okay.
Makes sense.
Then Ethereum just works as a verifier, checks this small proof, and all right. I accept it. So this is nice because you somewhat plug into this enormous Ethereum verification engine, like trustless with multiple validators, and you don't pay so much because verification of this proof doesn't cost all that much gas. And also, like in practice, what you do is you kind of enhance Ethereum throughput by it. So this is one application, and the other one, again, like not going too much into technical details, you may think about it actually being quite similar, but so again, the chain will be a verifier, but right now, like in the example with the rollup, actually, like you may ask the question, all right, so who actually submits these batches of 1,000 transactions? And well, that's actually a great question, because right now, most or maybe even all rollups are centralized in the sense that there is literally a single dude like gathering all the transactions, generating the proof, and submitting it. This is problematic when it comes to censorship, for example. But well, like this is how things work right now. There is this single dude gathering the transactions. The sequencer, they often call him. So now, when it comes to the privacy, you may think that, okay, so right now we're not going to be sending these batches of 1,000 transactions. there is no sequencer here right now, every single user will submit the proofs to the chain. And now what's he's going to be proving? Well, he's going to be proving things like, okay, so here is the proof that I own enough tokens to initiate the transfer that does some state transition. And this is, mind you, a zero knowledge proof, meaning that I don't reveal how many tokens I actually own, and I do not reveal what operations I actually do. The only thing I kind of reveal is that, well, I'm doing something which is okay. I'm doing something which is legal. I'm doing something which is according to the rules. So, I'm not minting money out of thin air. I'm just doing some allowed operation. This is what Zcash is doing. Monero is slightly different, but this is what Zcash is doing on shielded accounts. That these users of shielded accounts are basically submitting proofs that they are doing some transfer which is legal. That's all.
Okay, and I mean, my understanding from, let's say, non-mathematical perspective is I can get 100% true answer to the question yes or no, right? And that's something that, okay, is this true what I said, or
again? Can you say again?
If I ask yes, or is this true or not, right? I get 100% true answer yes or no.
So there is no. I mean, you may ask me to generate the proof, and I can generate. When it comes to the 100%, well, okay. So formally, the answer is no, because all these things these are arguments of knowledge, not proofs. But this answer no is only in the super strict mathematical sense. In practice, it's something like, I don't know. The probability that I'm gonna be able to lie to you is smaller than, I don't know, I don't have any metaphor out of it, right. But it's so small that it's literally never going to happen in the history of the universe.
All right, so listen, for me, it's yes or no. I mean, that's
right? So for all practical purposes, it's 100%. Literally for all practical purposes.
And now, this is, and we spoke about this a couple of times, how you transition this into functioning system of compliance, right? And that's something that is, and that's something which from my perspective, we are, that's why also we, with Wojtek, which is the co-founder of GateNox, we are so excited because and there's a lot of discussion of what we can leverage from Web3 into Web2, right, in the neat and nice way. And I think this is something that potentially could be applicable to traditional finance as well. The simple yes/no answer, multiplying with the series of questions, and you suddenly can end up with the answers to, are you on the sanction list? Are you PEP? Are you, and all these questions that you need to, ask and get information as opposed to answers, which is, immediately impacting, the privacy and the whole risk related to this. So from my perspective, this is one of the biggest promise of crypto, right? That we're going to solve this problem. Question is where we are in, I mean, again, we spoke about this, a few times, where we are in terms of solving this problem, you think, how, and let me roll back. How important you think compliance is for, people who are deep in tech, in crypto?
So I'm not a lawyer, obviously.
Yeah, it's not legal advice.
Of course, I'm not neither financial, of course. Yeah. But one thing at a time. So first of all, this there is very big premise. I mean, in this zero knowledge technology, or one of the biggest hopes, I think, in the industry is that the zero knowledge thing will allow, I think, something that can be generally called selective reveals. And it can have numerous applications. So I'm going to arrive to compliance soon, but let's start with something perhaps a bit more tangible. So I think pretty often the example which is used is that let's say that we have some kind of an ID system on blockchain, and I uploaded a lot of data about myself to the system, including all the passport data and the picture of passport and everything. And right now I want to log into some platform that is for adults. So, I don't know. Let's say that I want to do it. And it's kind of a platform where I don't really want this platform to know my passport data because, first of all, I basically don't want anyone to know my passport data. And second of all, I don't know, I'm afraid to upload such things to the internet. So what I could do, in theory, is that I could generate zero knowledge proof that, so this is my ID, and it exists on the blockchain, and there is a hash of all my data on blockchain. And I just generate the proof that I'm over 18 years old. And nothing more. I mean, I do not reveal any other, even a tiny piece of nothing else. I just prove that I'm over 18 years old. Or I can prove to some other platform that, all right, I'm not gonna reveal my name or anything like that. I will just reveal that I'm not a citizen of some specific country, which is, for example, not allowed to enter some kind of a program. Or I may prove that my credit score is at least something without revealing the particular score. Or I can prove that my bank account status is something. I can do arbitrary selective reveals by using this zero knowledge technology. And actually, why I use this example is because it's a bit simpler in the case of ID systems, because in the essence, what I do in ID system is that I have a big bucket of data, and I just choose to reveal one item from this bucket. This is the ID case, zero knowledge case, and of course it would be super useful for multiple industries. Interestingly, this case, it's not even blockchain specific. You could easily use it for Web 2 as well.
Exactly. But, then you have, and I think, this is I see it as one of the biggest disconnection between, let's say, compliance world and tech world, because we need to, our obvious question would be, how do you put this data in the way there's a mechanism which is preventing you from falsifying this data? So what you can reveal is one thing, but how you get this data into the system, right? And that's something, and that's and these two words are not meeting. And I think, it's ending, between, we have this data and we can use it in a beautiful way, and it's solving a lot of problems.
Yes.
How we are getting, so all this, you remember the logistics, blockchain in logistics, and I said, listen, you need to have this information first. Typically, this is where things happen, invoices, all this stuff. It's not about system, it's about input. So what's
it's complex. I don't think it's gonna the wide adoption of such system is going to happen this year. Although I think it may be not all that surrealistic or not all that futuristic as you may think. I hope for solutions for example, European Union passport. I mean, I'm not an expert in hardware, not an expert in the passport standards. As far as I know, European Union is using a passport standard that is able to to sign messages. Basically,
Yeah.
you can. I think even with a smartphone, you can sign.
NFT, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would hope. I never read deep into the standard, but I would assume that one of the default applications is that this passport is able to sign verify the data. I mean, it is able to sign the message containing the passport data with the signature, which is kind of using the, I don't know what particular it means, but using kind of like a European Union private key or whatever. So it means that it is able to provide information that, okay, so this user actually used this passport and this is actually legit EU passport. So if you have something like that, then let's make a blockchain verify such messages, and here we are. We have a way to upload the ID data to the blockchain. So I'm not sure whether we're exactly at this point yet. As I said, I'm not.
I think you're already for a couple of years in this place. Question is, and that's something that is, let's say, big question mark to the crypto industry, why we don't have this yet operating. And I know that there's projects like Nuggets, and all this, different. But at the same time, I spoke with the guys from Hashgraph Hedera. They spent 500 million on different projects in the ecosystem, and there's I think 7 which are still operating. Exactly. So that's another big question mark about crypto industry. That there could be so many fantastic projects for this amount of money built. One of them would be the privacy aspect. Yeah.
As I said, I'm not an expert. I didn't spend too much time. Although I did spend 15 minutes. When someone told me about this passport thingy, wow, that's super cool. I need to read upon it. And in 15 minutes, I found some documentation released by European Union, and it's an absolute nightmare. I mean, you need the entire technical and legal team to read this documentation, and it's a material for a very, very big project. And honestly, I'm at this point, I'm not even able to obstacles. This is just, complex, and it's in some way, it's not entirely written for tech industry. It's written by bureaucrats in a way.
I think this is one of the. As I said, I think this is huge disconnection between anything which would be technical, and I think it comes down to personalities almost, right? There's not so many. Although I'm surprised, with the understanding of compliance aspects by technical people in crypto. And there's so many people who are very, very close to my knowledge, which is 20 years in compliance, right? Which are coming with very, very technical background. But at the same time, there's overall disconnection. Why we actually need to do these things? Why we need to understand who is behind the transaction, and why we need to do these compliance checks. It doesn't make sense. It prevent us from making money or introducing new users to the ecosystem. So all this discussion is happening.
Oh yeah, it looks like I dodged your compliance question actually.
Yeah, there you go.
No, that was meant to be just an example. So let's come back to the compliance. So okay, but I think so. Basically, when someone asks about compliance in blockchain, people understand it by default. But all right, so he's kind of asking about Tornado Cash kind of things, right? That's what he's asking, I guess. So. My view, again, not a lawyer, not a legal advice, but as far as I know, the question of compliance is not a question about okay, is it compliant to deploy such a smart contract? That's this question doesn't actually even make much sense, I think, because this contract will be a decentralized protocol basically after it is deployed, and can it exist? It exists, right? There's nothing we can do about it. The question rather is is it compliant, or how problematic for users would be to actually use it? This is the actual question that I think is important, that is important to answer. So, like my view of this is that, for example, Tornado Cache is super problematic. If you, as a user, will use Tornado Cache, you are going to be flagged by literally everyone, and it's going to be super problematic, even if you don't do any illicit activities. If you just use Tornado Cache for the sake of your friends not tracking your transactions, you're going to run into a lot of problems, not only because UX of Tornado Cache is annoying, but also because you're gonna have hard time, for example, to convince centralized exchanges to accept your funds, or basically to convince anyone to accept your funds. You're gonna look like a hacker, kind of. So this is the actual problem that I think is important to solve. And again, compliance. This word suggests something that there will be some, I don't know, someone that will want to put you in jail, or because you're not going to. No, I mean, that's probably not going to happen. Yes, there was one Tornado Cache developer who was in jail once. He's not anymore. But as far as I know, that's because he was living in a very strict jurisdictions in Netherlands, and basically these things doesn't happen. So it's not all that much about compliance. It's much more about usability, in my opinion, and the legal/administrative obstacles for this usability. So, for example, as I heard legal advice once, but basically there is nothing wrong with Monero, and basically probably every exchange would accept your funds, no matter the amount. You have $100 million in Monero, you go to exchange, everyone will accept you if there is a business case for that. I mean, if you give them, I don't know, 10 million out of it, and then you will generate some proofs that this is not illicit, there is a business case for them to actually look into these proofs. Otherwise, no, they don't have a process for that. They're not going to do it because it's problematic, it's hard cryptography. There is no process to verify that something in Monero or in Zcash is not illicit in most of the exchanges. So my view of the thing is that it's much more about usability and business case than the actual compliance. So the quest here is to build such a privacy protocols where it's gonna be for users easy to prove that they are not related to any illicit activities, and even more important, for the other parties, easy to verify these proofs. This is the system that we're after. And compliance, is it compliant? I don't know what this means. Compliant with what? There needs to be some particular law.
I think, one of the typical example would be, do you want to build something that is going to be used or help, terrorist attacks, or, child exploitation,
Of course not.
Exactly, but this is, and, working out through this, how you want to, how you are able to prevent, your protocol, your solution to be used in this way. That's almost like the underlying, let's say, question which you typically, you could ask yourself and answer yourself to get, what's compliance. The rest is, the compliance, this is how we do this, but not why we do this, right?
I would really like it if the word compliance would be replaced by other words in this, not this
financial crime, financial crime, like this.
I like the word, for example, attributability.
Okay.
I want things to be attributable.
Can you explain?
So, for example, I think one of the, or maybe even the biggest problem with Tornado Cache and protocols like that is over and over again the same scenario happens. There is a hack somewhere. Someone steals some funds, oftentimes hundreds of millions of dollars worth of tokens. And, it happens on a public blockchain, usually Ethereum, not always. So everyone can see basically this hack. Everyone can see to which address the funds have been deposited.
Yeah.
Like, this is a public blockchain address. Everyone can track all the transactions. So you don't even need to use the coin firm or chain analysis. Like, really, these things are simple. Like, everyone can see, okay, so the stolen funds went there. And there is like this trackable path. And then these funds enter Tornado Cash.
Yeah.
And they're gone. Like, Tornado Cash is basically, I'm using this name because this is the most well-known protocol. Yeah. It could happen it actually did happen on a Railgun this year, also another protocol on Ethereum. It could happen that they went through some bridge to Zcash. It could happen, like, there are many ways to actually mix these funds. Like, Tornado Cash is just, I guess, the most convenient. It's the best known, so everyone. And it's an enormous bag of tokens of different users, and there is absolutely no way to discern which are the tokens from the hack and which are tokens of legit users. So this is the story that keeps happening over and over again. And by attributability, I mean that, like, there is one question we would like to know the answer for. Okay, so, like, from these funds, we don't care about these guys who just wanted to, I don't know, visit a porn site or whatever. I don't know. We don't care about it. What we want to know is, like, really, okay, so which of these funds are the funds from these evil guys from North Korea which just stole it from Ronin? Like, this is what we want to know. This is, like, the attributability that we're after. And it's, of course, cryptographically very problematic. It even seems to be impossible. So how on earth would we design a protocol where generally everyone is private, unless we say that we don't want this particular guy to be private? I mean, like, it seems like we need to introduce kind of like a third party. It's So the direction I like, and I think is very promising here, is using zero knowledge in a way. This is the direction that is often preached by Dan Bonnet, a very, very well-known cryptographer from Stanford. So it's you can call it proof of innocence. I think this is a good name that kind of explains what it does. So what we're gonna do is, like, there is no magical party that will be able to order reveals and say, all right, so reveal this guy or that guy. We don't want to have this party because this party can get corrupt, right? This party can be bribed. This party can then reveal basically anyone.
Or sued or threatened by the government, whoever, whatever.
Yeah, but like multiple reasons for to corrupt such a party. So what we can do is, like, we can create a system where there is no party that's able to reveal anything. What we can allow, though, is kind of like we can look at the problem from the opposite direction. So we're not going to reveal anyone. We're going to allow everyone to prove that they did not have anything to do with particular thing. Because there is one particular thing which is problematic here, like this particular deposit from the illicit address, or like deposit from some list of illicit addresses, like maybe the sanctioned ones, maybe like the obvious hack addresses, or like something like that. So what we allow users to do is, whenever they use their funds, they will generate a proof. But okay, I'm not gonna reveal basically source of my funds. That's none of your business, people. But I'm gonna prove that I never interacted with any of these problematic, illicit, blacklisted addresses. And it's kind of like, it's not perfect. It's technically pretty complex, but it seems to be very, very close to what we're after. I mean, it solves this repeating story of illicit funds disappearing in mixers, and it doesn't sacrifice privacy of regular users. So yeah, I like it.
So do you think that mixers, I mean, traceable mixer, but revealed only with the consent of the owner of the coins?
Yeah, right now, I mean, most of the mixers, including Tornado Cash, actually have this way of kind of like a selective reveals, or like Zcash have this viewing keys.
Yeah.
So you can this.
This was interesting when I saw this for, first, like viewing keys, and there's like, listen, there was, I think in 2000, very early on when, Zcash, was created, and we had this presentation, we were engaging with them in CoinFim, right? To build tools for them for traceability, and we said like, oh, we have this keys, which viewing keys, which you can you have, and you can open the container with the data. And I said, oh, that's very interesting. And the other funny part is so many mixers, right? They have internal book of transactions, and there's not so many people who understand this, but effectively, in many situations, they would have internal book when they see the transactions, and if the SEC, the FBI would come, they are able to present and show this. So there's a couple of mixers which are which have this internal book.
Okay, so first of all, the word mixer, at least in my head, the mixer is a word reserved for the service, which is basically used only for mixing funds. Like the early Tornado Cash was a mixer, or like the Bitcoin coin join or coin shuffle. But this were like the mixers. So like the modern protocols like Railgun or even Tornado Cash Nova, I don't like to call them mixers, because it kind of suggests that they can be used only for this one specific thing, which is taking funds, anonymizing, and getting out. So that's not the case anymore. For example, Railgun is working in, like, I think the modern view of this kind of privacy protocols is that you should be able to keep your tokens there at all times. From Railgun, for example, you can initiate smart contracts interactions from inside of this thing, Railgun thing. So you can go to Uniswap, exchange the tokens, and go back to the Railgun. That's what we're also working on in our shield. So it's much more than this kind of old school mixer where where it was more like a one-time use thingy to just lose the trace of something. This is basically like a private address for all business.
Yeah, and I think why nobody's exploiting more on the private keys exchange. This would be one of the potential. So you keep the address, but you exchange. There's like layer of exchanging of private keys that can be using this.
So like I think the main reason is that you cannot prove that you deleted your key, right? I mean, like if I have my private key and I give it to you, and like, yeah, I promise I deleted it. So of course, I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, it's not absurdly impossible. It's in theory possible to. I mean, I can imagine that there can be like some kind of a way where I generate the address in such a way that I don't know the private key, but there is some protocol around that it allows me to temporarily use it. And
it's
then
a private key to a private key almost, this type of,
so something like that. Or like it's kind of like an overlay system over Ethereum.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I thought about this idea a while ago, where like you can have an Ethereum address which looks like a regular address, but actually no one knows this private key. But there is some other decentralized system which, for example, runs a smart contract, and this address is actually I call it invisible smart contract. This is actually a smart contract, perhaps perhaps it's a mixer, but it looks like a normal address.
Yeah.
But there is some other decentralized protocol which is actually have all the logic of this thing. So
that many of the family offices would be doing this type of transactions. Family office, yeah. So rich people, they want to maintain this address, and it doesn't move for a long time, but the private keys are changing, right? And that's there's a service which helps you to change, which from traceability, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean,
traceability perspective, it's gone. Like there's so many gaps you can do. You potentially, I mean, there's obviously like metadata which you could collect, but there is some. But it's very, very difficult to do this, So that's something which is, I'm curious why it's not happening, right? And it'd be so.
This is the kind of thing that you're never gonna be able to tell whether it's happening or not.
Yeah.
Like the entire thing is about that. Like it's invisible, right? I mean, you're never gonna know. Maybe it has been always happening.
No, it's happening, definitely in Switzerland, that's something that, I know for fact,
Yeah, and this is like another level of untraceability. So like in like regular protocols like Railgun or Tornado, like, okay, the funds are not untraceable, but it is transparent for everyone that, the mixing happened.
Yeah.
Here, no, it's an entirely different story. Like it's I mean, it's you cannot tell whether it was mixed or not. Like it's invisible. What happens?
There's this container with private key, and you have keys to this container, but the keys are changing.
But I don't know, but I give it a thought a while ago. It seems to be cryptographically very involved, so I seriously doubt whether it actually operates with like a reasonable degree of decentralization. I don't think so.
So I tell you, from my 2017 2018 days, when there was an ICO and the funders, and we were involved in this, the funders wanted to have the multi-sig sign up and kind of put away all the funders amounts. So we met with them in law firm in London, and we generated private keys for this multi-sig address, right? And the transaction happened, and we took the private keys and we deposited this in the law firm, right? So that's something which nobody was, you had to actually go down to this law firm, to pick up these keys. That's kind of interesting, think of.
Yeah. So this thing, the custodian way. This thing, I imagine it happens. So there is a custodian. And when this custodian promises that the address was actually deleted, and if it's a well-known custodian that you can kind of believe.
Trust.
So this kind of like a private key transfer, I think I would guess it's happening for like over 10 years right now, because it's pretty simple.
Obvious one, it's obvious. Adam, what's your view on what's the biggest promise in crypto? Where the biggest, let's say, thing that gonna make or break crypto, or make crypto like big and like the fabric of the future internet?
Reasonably private stable coin with good user experience.
All right. Yeah, I think stable coin is definitely something which is really, really gonna be the killer app. And I think it already is. Like USDT is a little bit, I think, getting closer to. I'm not a big fan, obviously, for a number of reasons. But at the same time, it's there. It's like nobody's questioning this anymore, almost. And that's something. What about the ownership of assets and cryptography connected? So it's almost like lacking layer in the internet is is this item mine when I create? How we prove this? You
mean like in gaming or something?
Not only in gaming, like you can create your picture or sentence or poem and anything, right? And you can say that I was first who created this. right?
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's very big market, which, like, in all honesty, I'm not all that into, which is this market of collectibles, let's say.
Yeah, NFTs. Yeah.
Broad term, a collectible can be NFT, a collectible, like a poem can be collectible as well. Like a while ago, people used to sell tweets, like in some sense, or yeah. So I'm not all that into it. I mean, like, a lot of people are kind of laughing from this market in its entirety. Uh, One would say that, well, actually, is it all that different from the fine arts market? I don't know. Uh, but like, yeah, so there is this market, but collectibles, is it something that will dominate the world? I don't know. I mean, like, there is, I guess, a limit to it. What's more interesting for me, what always has been more interesting, is the market where, like, this ownership represents something more than just like a collectible. Like,
yeah, it could be anything, right? So I mean, we spoke about this, before about.
There is this joke about, like, it can be anything. Like, really, in this abstract domains, like I keep hearing that you can do anything with it. Like, it can be anything, right? But like, in practice, like, really, okay.
Yeah.
Give me
But
examples.
just to give you an example, what we are thinking is wrapped NFT wrapped license, SaaS license to our platform, right? That's something which is bloody obvious, right? And that's something which is like easy to transfer, easy to create, and gives you right, which you can. I mean, you don't have to use it, and if you buy, annual license, you can.
The question is, does this company which are giving license, do they even want licenses to be transferable?
Yeah, but there is use case.
Like,
I mean, we want, right?
Not really want it.
Yeah.
For example, Netflix doesn't seem to want or like things like that, right? So,
well, if you be one user, and we can transfer to another one user, and not like everywhere else is like 5 user on one license.
I could, watch it in the evening and transfer it in the morning to someone in the other time zone, right? Exactly. And like transfer it back. I don't know. I don't think they would be particularly happy with such behavior, and I bet it would happen. So, yes, I think there are cases where it have a lot of sense. Definitely, I would love to see it in the world. My concern is that, unfortunately, it's not obviously in the interest of license providers. Yeah. I mean, oftentimes license providers actually do not want you to transfer the license. They actually, like, look at Steam, for example. Oh, this is a good example. Steam platform for gaming. Like, it's a conscious decision for them that if you buy a game, it's binded to your account and you cannot transfer it. But like, that would be super easy for them to allow transferability. They just do not want it. It's a conscious decision, because if someone else wants to play this game, they want this person to buy it as well. They don't want. I mean, like, this is the market where, like, this is pretty obvious that when you're buying a game, you're not gonna play it like every day for the rest of your life. You're gonna play it for, I don't know, a month maybe, and then obviously you would like to transfer it, and they don't want you to do it. So I think there are many industries where it's kind of, I mean, yes, it would be super nice to have like everything on NFT and transferable, but like the providers, they will not be happy about it. So this is like one thing. But yeah, for sure there are markets where it makes sense.
And you guys working on stablecoin at the moment?
Sorry?
Are you guys working on stablecoin?
No. I mean, no. And like, we do not have plans to work on stable. I personally see it as more like a legal/administrative challenge than technical one. And that's not.
But you're gonna have available Tether on Aleph Zero, or what's the?
Yes, most probably. I mean, we are building right now a parachain bridge to Polkadot, so we will inherit everything that's native on Polkadot, including. I didn't check it for the last month, but I think both of the big ones will be on Polkadot or are already.
Okay. All right, Adam. I think we're gonna stop here. So thank you very much for your time. It was excellent. I really like it.
Thank you. It was quite fun. It's like much more. It went much more smooth than I expected. I like what are we going to talk about for like over an hour about like compliance? Like really, do I have so much to say? And it was much more smooth than I expected. Thank you for it.
Crypto Compliance brought to you by GateKnox.